go. Yes, I do. Awesome. Okay, yeah. So we are live. So just a little brief introduction. So this is Marisa Cooper. And also thank you very much whoever's watching for joining us. Really appreciate it. This is kind of my first ever interview kind of format that I've done like this. The main kind of focus is on technology, specifically, the way people incorporate into their lives, the way they use it, and things like that. And I'm very pleased to be joined again by Marisa. So thank you very much for taking the time to be here with me today. Really
You're
appreciate
most
it.
welcome. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, awesome. All right, so I've got a couple of just quick fire questions just to kind of get you warmed up and accustomed to everything. But before I do that, just a little brief introduction about yourself, maybe some of your other hobbies, where you grew up, those sort of things like that.
Okay, so I've been playing the piano since I was 4 years old. It's been a big part of my life.
Mm,
I'm a music teacher at the moment, teach piano and music theory in the local area, but my dream has always been to perform and to play the piano publicly on the stage and in concerts, that sort of thing. So now
yeah.
that my kids are older, I'm sort of grasping that opportunity with both hands, and I'm trying to get the name out there locally as well as online and remotely and that sort of thing.
Mm.
I also have a passion for dogs, as you know. I have 3 dogs, of which one of them is a little puppy who you met last time.
Yeah, I
They
I
take up a bit of my
remember.
time too.
Yeah, because I remember you were saying specifically two, or was it three and a half? Two,
Two
because
and
you
a half
with it,
dogs, one's
yeah,
small.
yeah. Because immediately when you said half, I was thinking like, what is it? Is it half of a puppy? That would be that sounds really grotesque, but
Pint
obviously
size at the
not.
moment.
Obviously not.
Yeah.
Okay, no, that's awesome. That's great. Just to start off with. So yeah, so let's do the quick fire questions. So are you ready for those?
Yeah, go for it.
Awesome. All right. So just to start off, favorite color.
Blue.
All right. Coffee or tea in the morning.
Coffee. Easy one.
There we go. High school crush growing up.
What do you want, a name or an answer? Yes or a no?
Well, it can be a celebrity. It's not like DiCaprio or Brad Pitt or someone.
No, one of my friends, Simon.
Okay, cool. All right. No one's gonna know who that is,
No,
but yeah, there
exactly.
you go. All right. Favorite decade and why?
Favorite decade of wine. I'm not a
Sorry,
big wine drinker.
sorry, decade, like like 80s, 70s, etc.
Oh, 90s.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's my favorite too. So
90s, absolutely. Yeah.
you're already my best friend for life.
Yeah.
Um, favorite movie of all time and why?
I have to say Speed. I don't know if you remember it in the 90s. Keanu
Oh,
Reeves and Sandra
Keanu.
Bullock. I love that film so much. I honestly went to see
Wow,
that film about a dozen times in the cinema. I loved it.
wow. Okay, yeah, I never actually got to see it, but I watched it endless times with my family when I was a kid. So yeah,
Yeah.
it was a legendary
Fond
movie.
memories.
Not sure about the sequel, but yeah,
Yeah.
good choice there. Favorite album ever?
Oh, I don't know if I can limit it to an album. I can name
Okay.
singles and songs, but
Yeah, go for it. Let's hear it.
probably Bohemian Rhapsody.
Queen, yeah,
Love it. Yeah, love
nice,
Queen.
nice. All right. So shall we
Big,
just
big Queen fan.
any others that spring to mind?
Friends will be friends. I also, obviously, growing up in the 90s, like a bit of Take That, bit of Cheese.
Okay. All right. Okay. No love for what was the other ones? Yeah, Take That, E17, Boyzone.
No, no,
No love for
no.
those
Take
guys.
That. Take That
All
done
right.
brilliantly.
Cool. Awesome. All-time favorite musician.
Ooh.
I know I keep firing these impossible to, you got to think about that, haven't you? I was
There
hoping
is a
you'd have
young
one just off
lady. Yeah, it doesn't have to be pop music or anything like that, does it? Either.
No, just
I'm not going. There is a young lady. She's really making a big name for herself. She's an
oh,
organist and she's everywhere on YouTube and Facebook, and she's done fantastically.
oh,
I
okay.
love watching her. So she's Anna Lapwood.
Anna Lapwood. Okay, awesome. Um, any other instruments you would like to learn in the future?
The oboe. I've always wanted to learn the oboe.
I have no idea what that is. I mean, could you educate
It's like the
us who are
clarinet. It's like a double reed instrument.
okay? Oh wow, all right. I mean, is there any particular reason? Is it just kind of got curiosity or
It's just a beautiful sound it makes. Lovely instrument. Very woody.
awesome? No, those are all really great answers. So yeah, that's the end of the quickfire questions. So yeah, let's jump straight right into let's jump right into the main questions. So just to start off with, I'm very curious about what inspired you to become a pianist in the first place. Just maybe if it was something where you saw someone play when you were a kid, or I don't know, maybe
I
it's a book.
know. I think it's just the way I feel when I'm about to play. There's a build up.
Mm,
I'm obviously practicing and gearing up towards a concert or a recital or whatever it is, but
mm,
it's when my heart pounds and I get that adrenaline rush beforehand, before I play, just that moment before, and then the calmness that sort of fills me when I'm actually playing. That's you can't beat that, and that's what
wow.
drives me to continue to do it and to keep playing.
It's really interesting because you said you get this initial adrenaline rush, and then as you start to get into what you're playing, all of a sudden it's very soothing. So
Yes.
it's a very kind of quick, juxtaposition there. It's like you, you're really excited, and then all of a sudden it's like you've got this calmness distilled
Yeah.
within you. So
And it's really difficult to explain to somebody who hasn't gone through it themselves, because obviously I'm
mm,
really nervous and my heart's hammering and my knees,
mm,
my feet are shaking, and
yeah,
I'm worried I'm going to play wrong notes or forget the music and that sort of thing. But then I guess I just lose myself, and then
yeah,
the music just takes over, and
yeah.
and that's it. And that's why I do it, because I love it. I love that feeling.
Yeah, it's great that you kind of said that, and you've really kind of got the synergy. And what I found with a lot of the really kind of best live performances is that the audience is essentially almost like a participant, because they're hearing it, and it's like it's almost like contagious, like what you're doing. It really just exudes onto the audience. They can kind of feel the way that you're playing. It's a very kind of it's very engaging in that sense, isn't it? I
It
mean,
is, yeah. They're like an extension
mm,
of what you're doing, really.
mm,
They're understanding all the music and what's coming through you. You're sort of channeling the music out there, and
yeah,
if there's silence in the room, they're all sort of listening, and it's just it's an amazing feeling, really is.
no, that's an excellent answer. That's absolutely fascinating. Thank you for that. Moving on to the next question. Um, so were there any particular composers or maybe musical movements or particular styles that affected your love for playing piano in the first place?
I've grown up as a classical pianist, so
Hmm.
most of my music was centuries old, the Mozart, Beethoven, those sorts of things, and
Hmm.
I've become more focused in those areas, so I can play sort of pieces from the 1600s up to the 1900s, maybe, but not so much the modern music. It just
Okay.
doesn't sit right with me, really. But that's just my own thoughts and my own interpretation, really.
So, Marissa, when you say sit right, is it more kind of it's just never really kind of gelled into your style for you? It's never kind of really appealed to you to play. Let me think of an example. Something like 1920s or 1930s, kind of sort of like bebop jazz, because I personally am really a big fan of that. I kind of like the kind of more kind of go-getty, very kind of like vibrant sort of, if someone plays that on the piano, I really get into that. So, I mean, is there a particular reason why that that kind of time period, musical styles never appeal to you? It's
That's
always just
actually a different kind of genre altogether, really. What you're talking about is more modern music, sort of swing and
mm,
jazz and hip hop and that sort of thing. And I love the
yeah.
music that's around now, Take That and Queen. I can play them and um,
Mm, mm,
it's just the modern piano music, the 20th century, it's obviously my own likes and dislikes and that sort of thing, but it's just some
yeah.
particular areas that's just too modern to play, that sort of thing. But then
Yeah.
when you pass all that, you get into the 20th century music and the sort of
Mm,
mid 1900s and so on. And I love the swing music and I love the jazz. And
mm.
I'm more comfortable playing them. I
Okay.
don't play them as much as the older classical styles, obviously, but I do enjoy playing them as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's always good to have an open mind in that sense. I mean, even just like you said, you certainly do have more of an affinity for the older stuff as opposed to contemporary stuff. But you certainly don't mind, dabbling in it when you can.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, my daughter's 13 years old and she goes to a secondary school at the moment. She's doing singing lessons and she sings musical songs, like songs from the musicals.
Yeah.
Um, and we were busking in the street a few months ago and she was singing Bridge Over Troubled Water and she sung that in my
Oh
concert
wow.
earlier this year, that sort of thing. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
we'll sing songs from the musical Six or whatever she likes these days. So it's nice to have someone younger
Oh
to keep in touch with humanity, I think, really, whatever's
yeah.
happening now.
No, of course, and I'm sure it'd be nice to kind of go more in depth, kind of with your kids and maybe how they inspire you. So do you guys kind of do things like duets where she's kind of belting it away and you're just busy on the piano, those kind of things, or
Yeah, we do.
okay,
It's just finding the right songs to match her pitch and her standard and that sort of thing. But she loves it, and it's really nice because being my own daughter, I've been trying to teach her the piano or whatever, or trying to get her to learn an instrument, and now she's literally found her voice. She loves singing,
mm,
so that's
mm,
her thing, not something I'm forcing on her. To see her aspiring and becoming a better singer is absolutely fantastic. So I'll support her however I can.
yeah, I think I mean I can't speak because I'm not a parent myself, but I think it's creatively it's always kind of a mistake to kind of force that on one's child just to say, oh, I come from this musical background, you must kind of follow what I did as a parent. That's something I like to think a good enough parent would be able to let their kids seek whatever the heck they want, just creatively. And it really just seems like you're very kind of supportive of your daughter just following her own path, which is great. I mean, am I
Yeah,
correct in saying
now
that?
no one teaches you how to be parent. They don't give you a
Mm,
manual and say, here you are, this is how to be the perfect parent. We're still learning,
yeah,
but you have to find out what you can and can't do, how far you can and can't push. The more you push, the more they back away.
yeah,
But yeah, she's finding her own path now, which is hers to take,
yeah.
not mine, which is good. Oh.
Yeah. And it's at that age of puberty as well, so that's another thing to deal with. I don't know how well you're doing there or coping, but
Fingers
no,
crossed, you're right, I think.
it's sorry, go on.
Fingers crossed,
Yeah,
hopefully okay.
no, yeah, we'll keep those fingers crossed. No, it sounds like you've been doing an amazing job so far, so that's great. Um, so my next question, this is kind of the crux of we were talking quite a bit about this when we kind of did our initial Zoom call before, but I'm curious. I'm curious. Why now? Why now when it comes to social media? I mean, why have you decided to embrace the platform of social media in particular to expand your reach to people? I'm very curious about it.
Earlier in the year, I played in a piano competition and I won both classes that I entered. A few months after
Awesome.
that, I played in a recital, my own recital with my students in a local church, and that went really, really well. We had queues of people to come in, and we had people standing because there weren't enough chairs.
Oh wow.
Those two musical events have boosted my confidence no end.
Mm,
Plus also with COVID and lockdown, and that was a negative time for a lot of us, and
yeah.
a couple of personal circumstances have happened to me that have sort of made me grasp every opportunity I can now and
Mm,
get my name out there. And I'm doing whatever I can locally. I'm getting my name out there locally and playing in local venues and that sort of thing.
mm,
And as you know, I hated social media up until the last couple of years, perhaps. And, it is a fantastic platform to use. And
yeah.
it's being used really, really a lot more now, isn't it? Increasingly so. And
Oh yeah.
YouTube and Facebook and Instagram, these are all the main ways to go now, I think. So I'm learning
Yeah.
as I go along.
No, no, absolutely. I mean, I think we can all agree collectively that there are, of course, negative and bad effects of what social media has done with people, particularly with like the kind of mental health side of things. But there's also positives, like you highlighted, where you can really reach a kind of massive, potentially regional, even international audience with what you do, and it really just seems like that's what you're aspiring to do. And you did mention also, like like specifically like YouTube and Facebook and Instagram, and you just happen to have all three of those. You recently, from what I understand, started your own little YouTube channel, which is
Yes, I've got my
which is
daughter, tech guru, to thank for that again. She's the one saying, "Mom, you've got to get an Instagram. You've got to get an account and that sort of thing." Right. But yeah, we've
yeah,
got family all over the world, and I think if they can share my music and whatever it is, and then so
yeah.
be it. This is the way to go. It does have its pros and cons.
Yeah, it's always great. I mean, when I think about some like the biggest YouTubers and influencers out there, kind of where they blossomed from, where they started from, it was that kind of very one like key thought, which is in their minds, they're kind of thinking, what, maybe I should start this little thing. Maybe it will grow. Maybe it will grow into something which I beyond my wildest dreams. And now you see like some of the biggest names out there, and they produce some really like great quality work. And hopefully that'll be you one day, where you're really kind of just out there and your name's just like Marisa Cooper, and it's like second nature to people when they
Oh,
when they
that'd be
hear it. It's
nice.
like,
One day, maybe I'll start small and get. I'm patient. I'll
yeah,
see it
yeah.
through. I will keep going, but now is the time I've got the time to dedicate to it.
Mm,
So fingers crossed again. Yeah, hopefully something will happen.
awesome, awesome. So, oh, hang on, my notes just disappeared there. Uh, yeah, and conversely from that, you seem very embracing of your local community as well. You talked about doing, you said you did a concert recently.
Mhm.
Um, you're very embracing of that, and you seem to have a fondness for sharing your gift for playing piano with others in that circle you have. So I wonder, is that something that developed organically, or did you have this kind of sudden gumption to say, I really want to put myself out there? Was there a kind of genuine spark that just went like that, and you said, oh, you know what, I'm gonna really start taking this, a little bit more. I'm gonna push
Seriously.
this.
Yeah. Yeah, and that spark followed on from the competitions that I had earlier in the year. I think it
Mm,
wasn't just my family and myself knowing what my potential was, it was my friends listening to me for the first time, or my students' parents hearing me for the first time and having silence and then the standing ovation in the room, that sort of thing. That
yeah.
that sort of really increased my confidence no end. And
Mm,
and then I'm thinking, well, why stop here? Why just stop in this room? Why not
yeah.
just get the word out or get the music out as much as I can? And if
Mm.
social media is a way to do it, then so be it.
No, that's a great answer. I mean, it's always just when you have that passion in you and you just can't. It's too small just to contain. You want to let it out. You
It
want to let
feels like
people
it's
know about it.
exploding. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's an
yeah.
explosion. That's how it feels. Yeah.
No, that's a great answer. Um, so this is the one. This is kind of like the elephant in the room that I really want to know about. Going back to the topic of technology, so I'm very curious about how technology has kind of played a role in your life, and I guess you've kind of answered this with what we're talking about with social media specifically. But do you see yourself leveraging it more often in the future? We kind of talked about that, haven't we? I mean,
I don't know at this moment in
mm,
time. I just don't. It's too soon to see how things are going to develop.
mm,
I'm patient, so I'm willing to see how things go, how far I can take it, not just socially, but social media, but also locally, and in London, and trying to get a name for myself and nationally.
yeah,
Um, but I don't know what's out there at the moment, so I'm just taking it a step at a time at the moment, I think.
yeah. I mean, I guess there was a kind of key reason as to why I asked this question because I am aware that on your Kickstarter that is still being crowdfunded, by the way, and
Mm-hmm.
I'll let people know about that so they can check it out and hopefully donate a bit more to your pledge. Um,
Thank
but
you.
you mentioned that something about making a kind of studio, a kind of professional studio. Is that correct?
Yes, well, the room I'm in right now is my teaching cabin. So my piano is there, I
Ah,
have a sofa for my students and that sort of thing. But I
okay.
want to record properly, and if I'm going to be creating proper videos, I've got to take it seriously, get the right lighting and the right
Mm,
equipment. Right now I'm
mm,
just making recordings on my phone or my tablet or my laptop and that sort of thing, but I want to do it properly.
okay.
Not just also here, but also getting the music out on the street, as I said to you last week, getting the
Mm,
proper amplifier and the proper sound equipment and that sort of thing, the microphones, so that we can play and sing, my daughter and I.
yeah.
It's this is what I'm hoping to do. But we'll start here first of all, get the recording equipment done and the lighting set up properly and everything situated and placed properly in here first. That's
Okay.
the priority.
Yeah. So, I mean, at this current moment, would you say what you've got in terms of, because you mentioned like your laptop and tablet, is it just a case where you need things to be a little bit more powerful in terms of like specs? Or I mean, are you just looking to get kind of more equipment just to add, or is
Better
it a little bit of
equipment, I
both?
think. Better equipment. The lighting in here is not brilliant.
Yeah.
This can be improved, I think, and just making sure everything's okay.
Yeah, yeah. It's like you've got, I can see like a split shadow right in your face, kind of like you've got the dark side and the light side. It's a little bit of a Star Wars thing going on, but um, no, I think lighting, I would agree. I mean, lighting is crucial when it comes to, like making really good video. I think a lot of even the most experienced YouTubers, they kind of do that mistake of just not getting the lighting quite right, and it really conveys you want to give off, you want to show your personality, you want to literally show your face, and I think if the lighting's just not quite right, it's just people just moan about it, or they'll kind of seek someone else that has a more kind of professional setup that really kind of
Yeah,
looks like
yeah,
it shows that they know what they're doing.
yeah.
It shows that they know how to present themselves best, and yeah, I would like again definitely agree with everything you said there. So no,
Well,
that's a
hopefully
really
it's early days now. It's only been a couple of months since I released a YouTube channel, so early days, just, you know, one step at a time. I'll get these
Yeah.
recordings done, get this. I'll, even if the Kickstarter doesn't work, I'm still going to go ahead and upgrade the studio. You know, right now I'm focusing on
Yeah.
teaching. Now the recording side is coming
Mm.
across, and the performing side is coming across. So that will upgrade as time goes on.
Yeah, I mean, with crowdfunding, specifically with Kickstarter, and you got things like Indiegogo. I mean, it can be pretty brutal when you're kind of thinking about so much competition out there, and there's other people that want to use things like that to kind of really leverage their platform, and of course, that comes down to kind of getting the support and the money from people, and really conveying that message that I want to do this because, and you've got a multitude of reasons. And I think the key thing is, does it sound, do you sound convincing in that sense? Do you really kind of sound like you have a dream, you have a passion, you really want to see it come to life, but I can't do this without the support of you guys, without the support of others. I think it's really hard to really kind of, I mean, the fact that you've put yourself out there in the first place, that you made a Kickstarter, you've done something that most people just wouldn't care to do either. So, I mean, you're talking about, like, regardless of whether it is a success or not, and I do hope that it is. And yeah, I do hope that whoever's watching, you guys check that out again. You know, I think worst case scenario, maybe if it doesn't work out, you've still put yourself out there. You've done that exposure, and I think that speaks volumes in terms of you really want to take this thing on board. And for me as an individual, it shows. And I think that's one of the things which really kind of made me recognize you, and it just kind of made me want to say, you know what, I want to set up this interview. I really want to get to know you a little bit more, and in turn let other people know about what you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Okay, so the next question. Um, so yeah, we spoke a little bit about your daughter and how supportive she is of what you do. So being a mother of two, because I know that you've got an older son who's 21. Is that
21
correct?
years, yeah.
There we go. Yeah. So being a mother of two, do you feel that schools in general should be more embracing of wanting to get kids into music a lot more and playing instruments, or just more appreciative of classical music in general? And I ask this because one of the things for me is that I think when I was a kid, my kind of dream was that music, playing an instrument, I always found that really awesome. And I tried to learn guitar myself, but to no success. But I was always curious. It was a little bit of a hot take, somewhat, but I always like went around and asked my friends and some of my teachers, well, why is music not I mean, it was a subject for, I did do music in year seven, but it was just one of those very forgettable things where none of the classes just really took it seriously, unless you were maybe a small subset of individuals that maybe wanted to push for that. But it's something where I think, I don't know, maybe just make it compulsory. I mean, it would be awesome if there was, maybe not mandatory, but something which really, enables kids from a very young age to maybe just play at least one instrument, maybe, specifically the piano, or it could be the guitar or the bass or whatever. So, why,
Yeah.
so just putting that question out there again. I mean, do you think that's down to schools, or do you think that should be down to the government, or, what's your opinion on that?
I think it depends where you live and what type of school you go to, because schools differ from area to area. They really do, and
Right.
that sort of thing. But
Mm-hmm.
I think most schools, it starts young. If you build up a love of music from a young age, especially ensemble music, when there's 20, 30 kids playing the recorder or drums or something at the same time, they get each other going and motivated, and they spur each other on. That's
Mm.
much better. And then when they come into secondary schools, as you said, music is seen as it's dismissed as a not such an important subject for many, many
Yeah.
students in schools.
Yeah.
Uh, but you know, you don't need to have an instrument to play to make music. You can sing, you can tap, you know, you can use your own hands to make a beat and that sort of thing. You know, you can there's different ways. It's down to it is down to the school, but it is more importantly down to the local government, the council, I guess, isn't it? And you know, if they encourage all schools to do it, then they might increase the love of music, I think.
Yeah, I love the way you said about, it doesn't have to be just an instrument or even just singing. It can be like, you just
clapping
like tapping
or beating or, just making sounds with your hands or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Because, I'm sure once upon a time before we kind of had all of these marvelous inventions and instruments, it was just people just kind of making things up, and people had to really kind of improvise. And it's wonderful because that music can be so dynamic in that sense. It's not restrictive. It's incredibly open, so you can make anything up out of anything if you want to. It's just, I think the only limit is your imagination and how much you want to really,
and how far you want to go. Exactly. Definitely.
No, that's awesome. That's great. Okay, so that is actually, well, that was my final question. And thank you very much for those answers. I really appreciate it. So I've actually got 3 from my sister. I've got 4 from my good friend Luke. So I'll start off with my sister's ones. So her first question to you is, how do you nurture your creativity as a pianist?
Oh, that's a difficult question.
I know she always likes giving me those difficult ones, but I guess
do I answer that?
I think I guess just to kind of assist it a bit, maybe how do you make yourself more kind of individual as opposed to all the other pianists out there? Do you have a certain kind of unique spin on it, or?
Yeah, that's a tricky one. Right. So what I do is basically once I've learned a piece of music, it's black and white, it's a note in front of you. You learn the music, you can play it all the way through. Then you add the details, the loud and the quiets and the different touches, the speed changes, that sort of thing. And then once I'm ready to perform, I personally know I'm ready to perform a piece of music when I can play it with my eyes shut. Okay.
Wow.
One of my teachers always said to encourage me to learn and to perform a piece of music without looking, with my eyes completely shut, no music, no looking at all. And that worked because in a piano competition when I was 15, there was a power cut. The lights went off, but I carried on playing. So it does work.
Oh, wow.
You don't need to see where your hands are going. Anyway, I listen to recordings. Again, YouTube is brilliant for all this. Don't have to dig out all the CDs and that sort of thing. You just type it in, and I listen to several recordings of it, and I might not agree with some of them. I might think that's too fast, too slow, too loud, too quiet, whatever. So then I get my own interpretation of it. But even so, it's, if I play a piece of music 3 times, it's never the same. So the first playing might be one way, the second might be slightly different in the middle section, or the opening might be slower, or whatever it is, a third completely different. So it's, it changes, it's constantly changing my way of playing, even just the same piece of music. Wow.
I'm very curious because you said the lights went out one time when you were what happened there? What's going on? Was that intentional sabotage by someone you just didn't get along with in school? Or
no, I was 15. It was in Hertfordshire, in I think it was St Albans, in an Audi car showroom. And we had this lovely ball gowns on, and there's about 6 of us finalists in this big, fantastic, fancy competition. And I was the second last to go.
Wait, hang on, Audi showroom? So did they convert
Audi
it?
Car showroom, yeah.
Wow. Okay, so were you actually surrounded by some cars, or did
cars,
they just...
yeah. Yeah,
Wow.
fantastic.
Okay.
It's a lovely stage and all like lit up and everything, and a lovely audience. And I was in this fantastic sort of turquoise ball gown sort of thing. I was only 15, and it was
Oh
fantastic.
wow.
And I went up there. I can't remember what I played. It must have been.
Mm,
Yeah, I think I know roughly what it was. And then I played about halfway through. The lights just went out. Boom,
wow.
complete darkness. But
And
because I was ready to play and I had learned that piece literally with my eyes shut, I
mm,
carried on. I carried on going, and I got to the end. And obviously, as soon
wow.
as I finished playing, the lights came back on again.
Very convenient, yeah. No, no, it's amazing because that just didn't phase you. I mean, like you said, you did have your eyes shut, but let's say like hypothetically, if you had them open and someone like that happened, it really just shows that attention to detail that you seem to have, and that kind of perseverance to just keep soldiering on despite any external influences. And I think that's a very powerful tool to have. It really just like pushes you to strive for your best. And
That's
yeah,
my
it's
yeah, that's probably my own personal take. When your sister was asking about my creativity and that sort of thing, I never play with music.
mm,
So I always memorize the notes that I'm playing. It's all up there. And as I said, the second I know I can play without the music and with my eyes shut, I know I'm ready to perform. So
oh wow, that is an amazing answer. I'm sure she's gonna love that. Yeah, so yeah, we pretty much you answered that question um superbly, and I really love that answer. You dabbled a little bit in this as you were answering this, but the next question that my sister had was she says, who has been your most influential teacher or mentor in life?
um my most influential teacher was my piano teacher for approximately 6 years, I think it was. So basically, I
Wow.
was my mum taught my brother and I the piano when I was 4 years old. My brother's a couple years older than me, 2.5 years older than me. By the
Okay.
time I got to about 9 or 10, I had outgrown her, and so she had to fob me off to find another teacher. um, and then from the age of 10 until 16, these are quite important years because I did a lot with this teacher.
Mm,
He not only moved house from, where was it, High Wycombe to Essex, but he also
yeah.
saw me through my GCSE years, my grade 8 piano, and my piano diploma, which I got
Oh wow.
immediately after I took my GCSEs at school.
Yeah.
So those 6 years are the most important years, and he's the one who explained to me the importance of playing the piano with my eyes shut as well.
Wow. That just I mean, those are very, of course, formative years for you. And just to have the teacher going through going through your years with you like that, it's just I mean, it must have kind of felt like it's almost I don't know if this is too far of a stretch, but maybe like part of like your family circle. So did he kind of feel almost like I don't know, like an uncle, like a second having a second dad, or
Yeah, more like a granddad.
no, no, that's great. So I think yeah, she had one more question, which I put on somewhere else. Yeah, do you feel more enlightened post-pandemic? And are there any other hobbies, interests that you have taken on board since then?
um, what do you mean enlightened?
Um, so you feel more enlightened. I don't know if that's a more kind of a kind of state of how you felt. Maybe like, did you feel happier or more sad or more optimistic coming from lockdown or coming out of lockdown? I think maybe that's what she meant from that. She said enlightened.
Yes. Yeah, I used lockdown wasn't a great time for all of us, but I used lockdown to launch my own website at that time. Um,
Mm,
I also discovered the Zoom, and also
yeah.
I started teaching remotely. So not just my face-to-face students, but I taught remotely up and down the country. And I think at one point I had about
Mm.
40 students online. So
Oh wow.
Skype or FaceTime, Zoom, whatever it was we used at the time, even WhatsApp. A couple of calls were on WhatsApp.
Yeah.
So I embraced social media and online remote working and learning and that sort of thing.
Okay.
But now I think I want to focus on getting my name out there locally and as far as I can get.
Mm.
But I've also realized the value of social media, so I'm hopefully using that to my advantage too, I think.
All right. And so when you were teaching kids remotely, was it just purely regional? Did you actually teach kids outside of the UK or
I had a one phone call from Australia. Well, not a phone call, one inquiry. I don't know how my name got as
wow.
far as Australia, but it's funny because he
Wow.
didn't realize where I was. I didn't realize where he was until we realized it's sort of the details, and we thought, no, this isn't going to
Right.
work.
Okay. I mean, you couldn't tell initially by the accent, when because
No,
when you hear an Aussie
it was an email inquiry, not a phone
oh, okay.
conversation.
All
I
right.
know, but I don't understand. I don't know how my name got to Australia. I'm not complaining, but I don't understand.
I guess it sounds like very very powerful word of mouth. I don't know, maybe if it was the kids or maybe some friends that just maybe passed your name on.
Yeah, or just sharing, sharing
Like,
details, sharing videos, and sharing information must be. But yeah, I had students all up and down the country, and
mm,
online working and remote learning is fantastic because there's no end to what you can do. You can have yoga classes, keep fit classes, piano
yeah,
lessons, and
yeah.
I was teaching up to Yorkshire, and some of my students were in their 80s. You know,
Wow.
lots of people really wanted to because the outside world was shut off to us, really, wasn't it? So then people sort of
Yeah.
looked inward to see what we could do, and
Yeah.
it was good.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, there seemed to be so much hunger for just almost borderline. It's kind of like desperation, just to want to learn things, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, me personally, I was going on because you mentioned 8 year olds you were teaching. I actually went
80.
on. Yeah, 80. Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually discovered things like falconry channels. This woman, she does a really cool channel on falconry. That's something I never thought I'd get into. There's this channel where this elderly grandma, she reviews video games. It's like things like that which I never would have discovered, it had we not done lockdown. So weirdly, it's almost like it kind of forced people to really go outside of the box in terms of the things that they were watching, the things that they were opening themselves up to, and of course with you, it made you teach like the guy in Australia who you never thought you'd reach, but it's quite incredible, because it just kind of shows how kind of in touch we are with just that yearning just to always want to constantly learn new stuff. It doesn't merely stop when you finished school or college. It can go beyond that.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I think the issue is there is still that stigma when, like, even like with universities, if there's people that are above the age of, I don't know, 24, 25 that are learning there is still that stigma where it's like, oh well, you should have done this when you were why does there have to be kind of an age limit to you wanting to learn new stuff? I mean, I know friends that are a lot older than me that they're still yearning to get like PhDs and they still want to get into higher education. I think that's amazing. I think that's fascinating. always keeping your brain active in that sense, where you never want to kind of end when it comes to like learning.
Plus,
I
we've
think that's a
also got
wonderful
that
thing.
maturity we have now that we never had 20, 30 years ago. I
Oh
remember
yeah,
being
yeah.
told when I was younger, you'll never make it as a concert pianist because it's too competitive. It's 0.0001% of the population will become successful. But
Mm,
now, I don't care. Now I've got the time and I've got the patience. I'm more mature, and because I've lived my life,
yeah,
I've been through several different things. I've seen my children, I've raised a family, all sorts of things, and now I'm hopefully approaching things differently this time. It's a
yeah.
completely different take, and I'm hoping that's what makes me a better musician.
No, that's a great answer, and that is the end of my questions from my sister. So, Tracy, big sister, if
Thank
you're
you,
watching
Tracy.
this, which I hope you're doing. I hope those answers sufficed. Now I've got a couple questions from my friend Luke. There's two of them that are pretty technical. I'm not sure if you can answer this, but I'll give it a go anyway. So his first question is, do you ever use general MIDI or synthesizers? That sounds like like if you got a kind of audio setup. But this is the thing, because the Kickstarter that we were talking about earlier, that kind of seems to be on you wanting to make a studio. I'm not. You don't have that equipment yet, do you?
Not yet,
Or
no.
okay, all right. So yeah, that his third question was, do you use a DAW, which is a digital audio workstation? So I assume that's also a no. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, sorry, Luke. I mean, it was a there was a two very technical questions. I'm afraid, Marissa, that's the best answer you could give. But I'll try and answer his two other ones. So his second one was, what musical genres do you like? Do you generally avoid or would like to dabble in if you haven't already?
Okay. I like most music. The only music, as I said earlier, is that sort of small type of music, which is the like the sort of very, very late classical music that is what we call modern type of music.
Mm.
But I like the music these days. So I like the bands that are out. I like Adele, and I like all different things.
So you're
Um,
down with the kids,
I hope so.
right?
um, yeah,
Okay. So like even a bit of country or like folk things like that.
yeah,
You're
yeah,
not.
anything.
Oh,
Yep,
awesome. Bit of Dolly Parton and
yeah.
ZZ Top, things like that. Okay, awesome. And his last question is, this is another one where we might have answered it before, but he wants to know your inspirations and what got you into music.
Oh, so
I feel
again,
like you kind of
I
talked
think,
about
yeah,
that, haven't you?
I was
Yeah,
taught music at a very young age, when I was 4 years old. So it's always been part of my life, really.
yeah.
Um, the family was musical. My mum's musical, my brother's musical. So I've grown up with music, always been there. I've always been performing and playing publicly, that sort of thing.
Mm, mm.
The fantastic music teacher I had for those few years, these years, as I said, that's been a huge influence on my life, and it's made me address things differently and be more creative with my way of practicing and performing and that sort of thing, I think.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to make you repeat yourself too much, but yeah, that's another good answer. So, yeah, that is actually the end of all my questions. So I've just got one final thing, and this is kind of probably the most, just the thing just to round off the interview. If you had one message that you could share with the world, if there was one key message that you'd love to spread around the world, what would that be? I mean, would it, it can be anything. I mean, just something like, would you like people to be a little more nicer? Would you like them to be more appreciative of what they have, or just anything that springs to mind from you?
Um, I would say don't be scared. Just, just don't hold back. If you want to go for something, then do whatever it takes to get there within reason, of course. And don't let anyone tell you otherwise. You are your own person, and just really believe in yourself. Because if you're not going to believe in yourself, who else will believe in you?
That is a beautiful answer. And with that being said, we are finally at the end of the interview. Once again, Marisa, I'd just like to give a big, massive thank you for taking the time just to be with me. And
Thank you.
Just this amazing interview that we've had. So for those of you who are watching this, if you're watching it on YouTube, I'll put links to all of Marissa's kind of social media links, so you can have a look at it. I'll also put her Kickstarter on. I think there's still about, is it 6 or 7 days? I think you've got.
Yes, it's nearly finishing. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I'd really appreciate. I'm sure Marissa would appreciate if you guys just check that out. Even if it's just a little bit, even if it's just a shout out, that would be amazing if you guys did that. And with that being said, again, Marissa, thank you so much. And I wish you the absolute best of success in the future. So
that's fantastic. Thank you for your time.
Yeah.